All right, time being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Board of Health meeting to order. All members are present. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone please remain standing and join me in a moment of silence for those who lost their lives 22 years ago today on September 11, 2001. Thank you. First item on our agenda are announcements from the Health Department. I am going to turn things over to Chris Schultz.
All right, just a couple of quick announcements. We have opened our fall vaccination appointments schedule. You can currently sign up online or call the health department to sign up for flu and COVID shots. There have been some questions about RSV. We are not offering that, just regular flu and COVID. You can currently sign up for both. We don't have COVID yet because the guidelines were just changed today. So we're just waiting to find out information on ordering the vaccine.
Can you get them both the same day, Chris?
Yeah.
You're gonna feel like death after, but yeah, you can. That's a brave choice, but.
Just get it all done in one.
I've done it.
Yeah, I did it too. I've done it.
And,
Oh my gosh.
if you are feeling like death and you haven't had the shot yet, we do still have free test kits available
Awesome.
at the office. Also want to let people know that from Tuesday through Friday of next week, the health department will be closed as our staff is attending the Massachusetts Environmental Health Association's annual conference. We are both there for training and we are also doing several presentations. So we'll be up in Northampton most of next week. And just wanted to remind people that we continue to offer both Narcan and Narcan training if anybody's interested in getting some Narcan. That's all we have for announcements.
All right, anybody have any questions? No? All right.
I'm gonna do that.
Next item on our agenda to begin our discussion and action items is a discussion on the public hearing process and response from the tobacco regulations that we discussed last meeting. We haven't received a response yet, so there's nothing to that to talk about.
Okay.
But there is, and of course, no, I left it right here. I did want to talk about the public hearing process real quick and how that works. First things first, though, I think it's worth mentioning that except in cases involving Title V, we're actually not required to have a public hearing. The only thing that we would even have to do when we enact a regulation is put a summary of the new regulation in our local newspaper. You can see how long ago that was written. So we don't have to do this. However, we do like to do it so that we can kind of provide the public that forum and be involved in that process. So that's what we're going to try and do for this once we finally get that situated. There are a few practices, and if you guys visit the local Public Health Institute, they put a really good packet together of the job aid. Happy to share this with anybody that wants to look at it. We are going to kind of follow that structure with how we're going to hold that. So we'll post that we're going to do it for about 2 weeks. Let people know when it is. We'll advertise it. I'm sure we'll ask Abington News to even share it online as well. And we'll motion to open the meeting. We'll talk about why we're having this hearing pretty early on. We're going to read an introduction, some ground rules, things like that. We're going to do, if we want to do a presentation about it, if we have somebody that wants to come and talk about it, maybe if Cheryl's available and we want her to be here, and we can get that to work. We can have her here as well. We don't need to read the entire regulation. We can have copies available if people want to look at that. We can share it, but we'll just summary is fine. We can also ask our staff members if they want to be a part of it. Basically, audience members will be allowed to applaud and things like that, but we are just going to kind of keep it as a, audience members can come up, testify, give their name and address, and sit down. We're not doing a Q&A on that, just kind of letting everybody come up and say their piece and go from there. So we are, that being said though, just because we're not required to do it doesn't mean that we can do it wrong. We do have to do it a very specific way, so we will follow that to a T. Establish those ground rules, we'll probably have a sign-in sheet, things like that to keep those things orderly. And pretty much upon closing that hearing, we're going to detail everybody how we're going to move forward, which we'll decide at the time, how we're going to vote on the regulation and move forward from there. So just kind of wanted to give an update on what's written in here and how that works, because again, it's not something we're required to do or we do very often, but this is available. Actually, anybody can look at this. Local Public Health Institute, it's the job aid for this, talks about exactly how we're going to pull that off as well.
Can I recap that? I just have a question, because this
Yeah.
is my first time, seeing the behind the scenes and something going up to a special town meeting like that. So we are making the decision.
Nothing's
No,
going to
it's
special
not.
town
No,
meeting.
no, this
no.
isn't going.
Nothing's going to
So
special.
this is gonna get presented,
This is just us. So we are going to.
oh, and then the community can come in here.
Yeah.
Yep, so
Oh,
they can come in
totally
here,
missed
we'll,
that.
we'll
Okay.
try and get the Cotter room if we can, just some bigger space than here, and just
Okay.
make it so that we can kind of have that dialogue with anybody that wants to come and
So it'll
voice
be
their
for
opinion.
public comment, but we're not gonna do a question and answer.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be a Q&A session, it's gonna be, hey, the floor is open to say your piece on this
Gotcha.
regulation. We can answer questions, but we're not gonna,
Educational
yeah, we're not,
format.
it's not a hypothetical back and forth or anything like that, you know,
Okay, cool.
clarify some things,
I get it.
whatever it may be, so.
Has town council, given a timeframe of when they're gonna respond?
No.
No, okay.
It's a very detailed answer, I know. That's the one I got, so. Yeah, and unless anybody has any other questions on it, I just kinda wanted to give an update on that. I mean, I know during COVID and things like that, when we talked about doing certain things, there was a lot of confusion on how we do business. This is how we do business. This is the way that we did this 10 years ago when we did tobacco regulations, so this is not new. We're not inventing anything here. This is very black and white on how we're gonna handle this process, so. I just wanted to make that clear from the get-go for everybody, so that way we don't get any confusion
Yeah.
on that part.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we can move on to voting on our minutes. We have the minutes from June 26, 2023. Those have been actually pushed off a bit just because we haven't had a forum to vote on them. So that will be, the only people who can vote on that are Katie, Kevin, and Clay. So this time I will take action or discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 26th minutes as written.
Motion to approve by Kevin. Second from Katie. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it's
Same,
passed. Okay.
sorry.
And for August 21st.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion from Kevin to approve the minutes of August 21st. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Katie. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. This passes well. Thank you for that. Okay. This time, public comment. Does public want to comment? No. Right. That is all set then. Correspondence. Does the health department or any member of the board of correspondence want to share? None? Great. No?
Someone had reached out to me regarding a mold issue, and I redirected them to you and just said to contact you, leave a message if you weren't there, so that you could assist.
Ah.
That was my only.
Nobody's called so far. But on that, because we do get these complaints all the time, just to inform the general public, there are no state or federal regulations on mold. And there are no standards. Generally with the housing complaints, we're looking at the moisture, which is the source of the mold. But a lot of people see mold that is colored black and they assume that's black mold. That's most likely not black mold. Actually, toxic mold is fairly rare. That's not to say that there aren't environmental or health hazards. You know, if people are allergic to it or have asthma. But yeah, we don't, there's no mold regulations to enforce. But if anybody is living in an apartment and they have a moisture issue that they're concerned about and their landlord has been less than helpful, they're more than welcome to call the health department. And we can get out there and inspect it.
Great.
Great. Anything else? That, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Kevin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We're adjourned.